So quick, one sentence summary of the movie. There's subtitles, but it doesn't matter. There's so little dialogue. I thought my subtitles weren't turned on. There was so little dialogue for a stretch. It's almost a silent movie about a mountain man, a trapper. He's living in this very beautiful mountain region between France and Spain. And it's just a look at his life, and the look is a mix of kind of boring, not a lot goes on, and shockingly brutal and upsetting at times. So it's kind of a weird mix for the film. Now, initially, I liked the movie a lot. I thought, even though there was no dialogue, no backstory, we really got a sense of this guy's lifestyle and the lifestyle of the people in this area. And it's this interesting mix of ruggedness, and he's drinking out of a stream, he's cleaning his beard in a stream, he's wolfing down food in a very wolfish way. I think that was intentional. But then there was also this kind of unique local vibe from the area there, this kind of Spanish culture, and you see the stone, and you see wine, and you see hanging sausages. So it's kind of this cool mix. Now, as the story progressed, we see some tragedy, and the best thing I can say, they adapted White Fang. I just watched that this weekend, and White Fang was a book about how living in the wilderness, it's very beautiful, but it's also a very harsh, brutal life. And the adaptation shied away from that aspect completely. This movie was kind of more in the vein of being true to that mentality that living in the wild, you get sick and you die, and there's no fanfare, there's no justice, there's no medicine at times. It's just life can be very brutal and snuffed out very quickly, and we see that kind of tragedy. And then the story takes a turn and turns into, I won't spoil it too much, but a rather twisted Beauty and the Beast story. But it's like if Beauty and the Beast wasn't a fairy tale fantasy, it was just a poor woman and an actual beast. So the story gets very, very violent and very graphic. We see, I think, 4 or 5 sex scenes, and they're kind of span from close to rape to, yeah, that's probably rape. So definitely kind of a content warning. And again, I think the only thing we see more is him just wolfing down food, and it becomes, he's not a very likable character, to say the least, and kind of a very uncomfortable movie to watch, definitely in the latter parts of it. So I'll say you're going to be left. It's an interesting film, not one that you'll see many films like this, very experimental, very avant-garde, and probably it'll be interesting and make you feel some interesting feelings. So I can't write it off, but nonetheless, can't recommend it. It's somewhat boring, somewhat unpleasant, and tough to get through, but it's different. I'll give it that. And last thing, I did want to mention, it was a well-made film. The director obviously has some skill and some talent. Some scenes in particular that stick out to me. There was one scene where, I won't spoil it, but we're seeing through a window, and we're seeing the interactions of people, and we're seeing it through the window. It's somewhat shrouded in darkness, but we can make out, and again, there's no sound, there's no dialogue, but we can understand something there. And then the camera pans over, and we see a different interaction through another window, and it's just a kind of minimalism, but we understand so much just through this little, what we're able to see with no dialogue. And again, we know very little about these characters, but we understand a lot. And there's another scene where, in his grief, our mountain man, he's flailing and having an outburst and just of anger. And we see his power. He's a big guy, but ultimately we see his impotence, and how his flailing around doesn't accomplish anything, and it looks kind of silly. And anyone who's gotten angry and felt that kind of impotent rage, it's very, very relatable. So again, just a movie that really, it took nothing. There was not a lot to work with, but nonetheless created something that I felt compelled to make a video about. I did want to talk about, maybe one day hear other people's thoughts on it. So probably, yeah, my main complaint is just the bleakness and the grimness, but I guess that is a part of reality, so maybe you should show it.